Hello, Beat Ball World. Welcome back to the 2021 version of the Beat Ball Blues Show. Sounds a little different, I am sure. There's no music. Our man Frank has the weekend off. My boy Frank had to his dog passed away a couple days ago. He's spending some time with his family, so there will be no music this week, no guests this week, but I still have my man, my twin in complete rainbowness, Seth Bam Bam Clark. Welcome in, Seth.
Happening, man. You know, it's
Happy New
funny.
Year.
Happy New Year to you, right? You were saying something, and a thought popped into my mind, and then I lost it by the time you got to the end, man. So I feel kind of lost. I'm like, man, I want to react to something, but I'm sorry. But I'm doing well, Neil Dog. Starting off the year right, man.
I didn't even say that much for a change. I'm trying to think
All right.
what I even said that could have sparked you. You're not a
I don't
dog
know.
person, so I don't think that did it.
It might have been just the first show of the year, right after the insurrection. I'm not laughing at the insurrection, but we all know that most of the beatball world here are Trump supporters, and so by me saying the insurrection, it's taking a little swipe at the Trump supporters, but it's all good. It's all good. I've gotten my political statement out of the first part of the the show. I can't promise anything, that it won't come up, but that'll be my last swipe at the insurrectionists. But what's up with you, Neil Dog?
Just going through it, getting the show fired back up. So I, for this show, not having any guests or whatever, thought it'd be fun to kind of do a recap and a restart. A recap how the 2020 year kind of ended with the show. It was kind of funny in my opinion, and kind of get things restarted. Look ahead at 2021. Share some thoughts. But going back to the last episode we did, the Christmas episode.
It's funny. I was thinking it was the New Year's Eve episode, but you're right.
I did host like a little New Year's Eve.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, there you go.
Which really didn't. I mentioned it to Axel Cox, like that was something I was thinking about doing. It was something that somebody else had suggested I did, to get beatball players together, and I had been leaning towards not doing it. And I was just going to have a quiet night. I think I made spaghetti that night, hang out, watch a movie or whatever. And Axel was hitting me up like, man, you got to do it. You got to do it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And like by the time we fired it up, man, Axel comes in. He's already hammered. He's just hammered. He's playing music in the background. Nobody could hear. People trying to talk. Kyle and Rebecca Lewis showed up for a while. Johnny Ma from the Philadelphia Fire, he and his lady popped in there. And there are other people that were like popping in and out, but they never said anything. And I don't even know who all ended up calling into that. But I set it up just a little bit before like the midnight on the East Coast. Now, I figured, hit the East Coast, Central, and I doubted anybody would make it to the West Coast midnight with me, but I figured we'd hit the East and the Central. Man, as soon as midnight hit on the East Coast, like all the East Coast people bopped. They're like, all right, cool, well, thanks. Happy New Year. They were gone. And like Axel's, like I said, he was already hammered. He started eating some leftover barbecue. It's like, man, he was gone. I was gone from that whole thing within like 45 minutes, an hour. It didn't last hardly at all.
That's funny.
It is cool though. Johnny Ma, like I say, he's with the Philadelphia.
I did think about popping in there. I did.
Really?
I did.
A few other people did. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying. I sat here and I gave it a good thought.
And that was about it.
Then I didn't go anywhere. I was right here. I was like, man, I should log into the thing, say what's up, whatever.
Yeah.
And then things just kind of whatever.
I didn't know what to expect. And like I said, for a while, I wasn't even going to do it. And then I end up doing it. And for a while, I'm just sitting there by myself. I'm sending messages to Axel like, man.
He's like, I could do this not on Zoom.
Yeah, I don't need to be I could sit here alone without Zoom being fired up. And then some people were hitting me up that they're like the link wasn't working for them or whatever.
Neil,
so, yeah.
And if you would have been doing it by yourself, you actually wouldn't have felt alone, right? Nobody was showing up, right? But go ahead.
So in the end, it didn't last too long. And if I'm not in a Zoom room that I've started, when people pop in there, I get email notifications. So some other people did jump in there, but it didn't have any name attached. So I don't even know who showed up afterwards. But what I was starting to say is I had never known Johnny Ma before with the Philadelphia Fire. But I talked to him. He's going to help us get his team on the show here in a couple weeks. 2 weeks from this show. We got something big planned next week, but I don't want to say anything about what it is. Because neither one of us have done our job really at making sure that it's going to happen. But we can't.
Whoa, hold on. Speak for yourself. You don't know.
That's true.
I did.
Neither did I. So, we're in the same boat. We have a show we've been planning to do for months. And we thought next week would be perfect. And we still don't have it in place. So we'll be doing something next week. I didn't
tag that week. What was that, like September, October? We're like, hey, man, January 14th or whatever this next weekend is. That's what we'll do.
The actual idea for the show, and now we're going way down the rabbit hole, but the actual idea for the show goes back further than that to like June probably. We've been planning to do this for a long time. And then finally in October, it's like, we should target this weekend. I don't want to say why because I've, start giving away hints since we haven't planned or got it, since we don't have it arranged yet. But
so, hey, we'll save you having to put a big blurb out on the on Facebook next week. Like, we didn't do the show that we told you we were going to do.
Which actually kind of leads us into the last show. As I said, I wanted to recap the Christmas show.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
No, no apologies.
No,
we're both bouncing around.
Yeah, I had stopped and think, wasn't that New Year's Eve? And then that's that's where that came. So go ahead.
So we were going to recap the Christmas show just because people have no idea all the craziness that all went into it, almost not getting posted at all. But I had this, and it went back to last summer. Really, I always had the idea of ending the summer by doing a show that would be kind of like the end of the year banquet at the World Series. Just get a bunch of people from a bunch of different teams and just have like kind of an end of the year thing. And that never. We just had other things going. We were getting other guests, so there was no reason to kind of force that in there. But at the end of the year, I thought it'd be a great way to just kind of end the 2020 year. That show was the 35th show. 35th episode of the Beatball Blues show. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Mostly because, when I set out to do it, I figured it'd just be something that lasted while lockdown was going on at the beginning of the pandemic. I really never expected it to go far beyond that. So to have done 35 shows rather than 6 or 8, like I originally thought, and for us to be planning, to keep moving forward for 2021, I thought that was cool when I counted up the shows. I was pretty proud of that to have knocked so many shows in there.
a lot of hours.
Yeah, right.
A lot of hours.
But so we decided to do this Christmas party, bring a lot of people back, have a big show. I had been on a Zoom meeting for like an NFB California meeting or something where they were playing music before the meeting started, and people were able to talk over it, and it sounded good. I was like, that'd be cool. Give the room a little ambiance, a little environment. But I just couldn't get the music right. Like I literally had all this like music set up to play while we were doing the show. But, by the end of the first song, I had to turn it down because you just people couldn't hear each other and couldn't talk. So that was a disaster. But people don't even know that was like the second take because the first time we fired up the show, like to play the music live, I was having to do a screen share through Zoom. And
oh yeah, it's so funny. I'm sorry.
You've forgotten?
I had totally, you're like the second take, and I'm like, what? What is that? Now I remember. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm tracking with you now. Go ahead. Bro.
So it's like I skipped a step when we fired up the show, and I didn't share the screen. I just went straight to the music. I fired it up. We started the show, and we're going for like 5 minutes. I could hear the music, but I didn't share it. So I'm the only one that heard it. I'm bobbing my head, and I got energy, and I'm going.
And you were calling people out. You were saying, telling other people, "Hey, say your name." And stuff like
and
that.
people were coming in. You know what I mean? People were saying hello. We had the show going, but you had this weird laugh going. I'm like, finally, I was like, why do you keep laughing? You're like, wait, you know that we can't hear the music, right? I'm like, oh, I had no idea.
And we were funny.
Like, we were five minutes in at least. I know, because I instantly stopped the show, and like Danny Fabiano was like, come on, man, can't you just keep going, let Frank mix in the music? Like, no, we're doing it the way I wanted to do it.
No, because it was so funny, because you could tell that you could hear it. Because you had to start speaking louder and stuff like that. You're speaking over the loud song, and I'm just sitting there laughing like, dude, nobody could hear it.
And everybody was pretty good at it. Nobody said a single word. Like, I'm the only one that had no idea. I was in my own world all the way around.
I was sitting there thinking, it's like, do I tell him? Do I tell him?
Yeah, right.
Or do we just go through it? But as it kept going longer and longer and longer, it's like, no, we got to tell him. I got to tell him.
And then we do go ahead and, we stop it, and we restart the show. And after restarting the show, I had to turn the music off anyways, because we just couldn't communicate with each other. So the whole thing was just I was going to call it a disaster. And it wasn't, because I liked the show. I felt like we did a fun show overall. As chaotic as it may have come across, that I was happy with the show, but no part of it went off the way it was supposed to. Not on the first start, not on the second start. So I'd bitten off more than I could chew. But there was drinking involved. Everybody was welcome and encouraged to bring their beverage of choice. And I did the same, and I partly blame you for this, just because I wasn't
white man blaming the black man. Shocking.
Yeah,
Shocking.
Right. Exactly right. Stand by and stand down.
Yeah. That was a good one.
But I don't even know what I was going to say. You
were saying it was my fault.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah,
you've been having a hard time connecting to my Zoom link. And there have been a couple times, that night included, where like we're waiting for you for like a half hour while you're trying to get connected. I wasn't going to drink until after the show. But during the half hour we were waiting for you, I was like, all right, I'll be back. I went and poured a drink, of course. And
go ahead. Finish.
Well, that just started my evening a little sooner than I had intended, which didn't work out for me too well.
No. You see, and now I realize why it was so important. That first take really helped me, right? Because it was so funny with you missing all the music or whatever, right? Because that day was a hugely stressful day for me, right? I had a big, a major job interview earlier in the day. I didn't get the job.
You're
but
grading papers too.
Yeah, and then it was finals day, right? And it was finals week. When you turn in a final at the university, you get the TAs and the professor gets 3 days to turn them back in. So you have to grade everything in 72 hours. So I had 55 finals that I had to grade. And, each final can be up to like 10 pages or whatever. So think of like...
It's not multiple choice.
Yes. No, it's essay questions.
Right,
it's an essay question. And it's 400 or 500 pages of the same question. Right. So imagine reading the same question 55 times, 8 pages, and so it's just so stressful. And so, I had the job interview earlier in the day. I went directly into grading those papers. Then I had to try to log on to the Beatball Blues show, and it takes me a half hour. And that entire half hour, all I'm thinking is, man, you need to be grading papers. You don't have this half hour, because they had to be in by 11 o'clock the next morning. I was like, you just don't have the time. And so I was just so stressed out. And then you're like, oh, where you been? It's like, man, don't. I'm not the one to be messing with at the moment, man. And then we had that first take, and it was so funny. And totally relaxed. It's like, all right, I'm good, man. So, but my drink of choice at that point was coffee.
Yeah, right.
Because I believe I was up till 4 a.m. grading freaking papers.
No, I believe
while you were up there drunk.
Yeah, I know. Ruining the show almost. As soon as like we were done recording, you were gone. Like you know what I mean. There was a considerable hangout afterwards. Like everybody was welcome to hang out and socialize for a while. I didn't make it to the end, but Christopher Jackson, Lex Gillette, and Axel Cox were on till like 1 a.m, I believe, California time. And that started at 6 California time, the whole thing.
Right.
I didn't make it to the end. My experience with Fireball whiskey has officially come to an end, Seth Dog. It has officially come to an end.
I had that stuff once, or I had the first time I had it, I really liked it. My nephews and nieces introduced it to me.
I remember.
They were like almost 20 years old, of course.
Yeah.
Right? And then I bought it when I got home from that trip, because I was on a trip, and I was like, oh man, I can't drink this. I can't drink this, normally, man. I need a real drink, because that's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, I've mentioned before, I've lost a lot of weight in the last like year and a half. Like I've gone from 225 down to like 180, and a lot of that has been cutting out sugar. And when I drink, my preferred drink has always been Jack and Coke, Jack and 7. Sorry, wiping a tear, bump the mic. Hope
it's okay, Neil. It's okay. You don't have to get. I want to do that. Hold on. Let me do something real quick, just so my computer doesn't talk anymore.
Can I talk while you do that?
Yeah,
it's not making any noise.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't hear anything?
I didn't hear nothing. No.
God,
so you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm normally like my email pops in and my computer starts to talk, and you say you can hear my computer talking, and so I always try to turn it off.
Yeah, I have in the past, but I didn't hear it this time.
That's crazy. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, but that's all.
So on the, I don't drink too often, but on the rare occasion that I do, I didn't want to drink. Like I didn't want to have the sugar, you know what I mean? I haven't been drinking any kind of soda at all. And so I was trying to be good, and I've never liked straight alcohol. Like I've never been somebody just drinks something on the rocks. But the Fireball,
Jack, straight up.
Yeah, no, that's just not. I'd rather have a bowl of ice cream. That just tastes too harsh, for me. Right, especially when I don't drink very often. Maybe maybe if I did it on a regular basis, I don't know. I don't even want to drink that much to where I drink straight alcohol. But I figured the Fireball whiskey, like, it doesn't taste that bad. But man, it went down too easily. I was blown away by how much I ended up drinking out of that bottle when I woke up the next day. Like blown away. I've never drank that much, I don't think. And I'm somebody used to drink too much. And I don't think so I don't really have a clear memory of how I checked out of the meeting. So when I record on Zoom, when I convert the video, like it doesn't convert the recording until I leave, and so I was nervous going into that if I stayed up too late drinking with everybody, like I would do something to screw up the recording. And I remember at points during the night, like thinking, man, it's late, I'm hecka buzzing, I'm hungry, like I need to get out of here and preserve the recording. I remember having those thoughts, and I literally thought about just hitting the Alt Q and just leaving the meeting, like quitting the meeting for everybody and not saying anything and being rude, but just to preserve the recording. And apparently I did do that, but you can assign the meeting to somebody else, which I didn't know going into that. And I don't remember doing it that night. That ironically, the next night, because we recorded this on a Friday night, and then on Saturday night, I started getting notifications that people were joining my Zoom room. And I go in there, and it's the Gateway Archers. There are like 4 or 5 of them in there, like ready for our Christmas party. I'm like, fellas, it was last night. they had the wrong night or whatever. They're like, well, is it cool enough we just stay in here and chat, use your room? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So when I popped out of there, I was able to assign, one of them, the room to one of them, and there was like a little trigger of deja vu, but I didn't think anything about it, because at that point I'm totally skipping the main part. I woke up Saturday morning and didn't believe I had the recording to the show. Like I thought I lost the recording, because once the video converts, it's just sitting right there on my desktop for me. And in there's always 3 files: an audio only file, some kind of play only file, and then the Zoom video file. And that's what I copy and send to Frank so he could, get the music. That's what goes up to YouTube. And the video file is always at the bottom. So once it's converted, I always just hit like the end button on my computer to go to the very bottom, so I could just copy that and go put it in Dropbox for Frank. And so on Saturday morning, I was hungover. I felt horrible. I didn't get out of bed till late in the day. But I laid in bed, hungover, scared to death I would have no show. I got a text message from Axel Cox, like, dude, what happened to you last night? You just disappeared. And that's when I started worrying, like, man, I don't know if, like, I just fell asleep. And I didn't know what happened. I had no idea if I preserved the show or not. So when I finally got up, I go open the computer, I go to my Zoom folder. And once I got in the Zoom folder, I did what I always do. I just hit the end button, and it goes down, and I turn on the Zoom video, and it's only like 2 seconds long. And you just hear Christopher Jackson say, I don't remember what, saying something. And I played it over again, and that's all that was there. I'm like, man, there's no show. And I just closed it, and I was crushed, and I didn't know what to do. And I finally reached out to you and told you. I told Frank. Frank was mad. And, I sent Frank a message and told him that I blew the video, and all I got was a little angry emoji. I was like, I made Frankie mad. But
and what was my reaction? It's all good.
Yeah, no, you were pretty good.
I wasted 3 hours of grading time.
I know,
but
right?
It's all good.
Right,
It's
right.
all good, Neil.
No, you pointed out like just how the whole thing. Cause I told you I was like, man, I bit off more than I could chew. You know what I mean? I blew. I had this big grand show that I wanted to do, and I blew the whole thing, man. And like it just didn't seem like it was meant to be from the beginning. Like like having to restart the show because the music wasn't playing, like all that stuff. You're like, it just didn't seem like it was meant to be. And so you and I were going to do a show on Sunday, just a quick show to because we had to put something up, and we were going to recap all the people that joined us on the Christmas show and, share stories from what went on, whatever, just so that something was up. Lex was going to come on, Axel was going to join us, and just kind of help us recreate the night since I'd blown the whole thing. And when I thought it'd be funny to just play that little recording of Christopher Jackson, the little 2-second clip. I don't even remember what he was saying. I just wanted something, it's like, well, here's the recording of the show, whatever. It's stupid. So I go in there to grab that little audio clip, and I realized that there's 2 audio files and 2 video files, and it's like, what's this other one? I click on it, it's like, boom, there's the show. I was so happy and relieved. First one I reached out to was Frank. I'm like, Frank, take down the angry emoji, we're good. So in the end we were able to pull it off, but boy, I almost screwed it up. But I guess in the end, because here they just said to finish up like my end of it that Friday night. So I believe what happened is I did go ahead and just leave and convert the video. And I went in, I guess I was going to make like a meatball sandwich or something, because I had put 6 meatballs in my microwave. And and I think while the video was converting and while I was waiting for the meatballs to warm up, I laid down on the couch. And I had to have just simply passed out, because the one thing I did remember was what woke me up. You've heard my microwave, like when I don't get something out, how it keeps beeping every few minutes. Eventually, that's what woke me up. And I don't remember getting up, but I guess I turned my computer off. I started my dishwasher. I did all this responsible stuff. When I got up Saturday morning, the meatballs were still in the microwave. I never did eat. But I ran my dishwasher. I turned the computer off. I did all this stuff I didn't remember doing. And I was scared to death that I just simply turned the computer off without converting the video. You know what I mean? I did not expect to have that video. I was so happy that it was there.
No, I remember getting the message like, no, it's all good. It's all good. I got it. I don't know how it happened. I don't know who did it, how they did it, or why they did it so well. But Jimmy cracked corn.
Yeah, right.
I don't care.
I have no idea why there were 2 recordings. The only thing I can assume is that when I assigned, I have to assume, and I don't even think I assigned any. I don't think I picked anybody. I think just Zoom picked somebody by default. And so I think it picked Christopher Jackson, and I think it recorded. Well, I don't, I guess scratch that. I don't know who it picked or why. I think that before it started converting the recording, that's why it got that 2 little second recording, just while it was assigning both converting the video I did and assigning, whatever hosting abilities to somebody else. I guess is why it created that second little recording, because I've never had more than 1 recording pop up in that folder. So that threw me off. But boy, I couldn't have been happier that it showed up there. That made I was miserable all day Saturday, just between I mean, the hangover went away, but just
Right.
having invited so many people to be part of the show and making this big deal and then blowing the recording, I was so ashamed. I was so embarrassed. I was mad at myself.
As Neil Dog, as well you should be.
Yeah, right.
You did all that, and then you get drunk and you throw it all away, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how many people have done that in different ways? So
alcohol's never screwed anything up in the
past. Right. so you should be ashamed of yourself. It should be a lesson to you.
Oh, it is. My fireball days are over.
Hey, you shouldn't be drinking while you're doing the show. You're the host, right?
True.
So you gotta do that, and then you should be in bed by 8 on Friday night.
I don't know I'll ever make that.
Early to bed, early to rise, makes man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Yes, sir.
The great Mike Finn, Hall of Famer, Mike Big Game Finn. One thing, like with all his health and fitness thing, more like from the nutritional standpoint, he points out, it's like, look, sugar's bad for you. He's like, but like all these other things that are like sugar free, fat free, whatever, it's like the stuff and I believed this before Mike started preaching it too. Before I even knew Mike, I've always believed this. Like the stuff that they put in artificial butter or artificial flavoring for anything, I believe is worse for you than what they're taking out of there. Like you could say it's sugar free, fat free, but the stuff they put in to make it, give it the flavor, I think is worse for you than what, the fat or sugar is. And so if I'm going to drink, I just got to go back to the old, like, my whatever, Jack and 7, Jack and Coke, and just take the sugar. You know what I mean? It'll be better for me than I'm drinking a whole bottle of Fireball. Well, one can of soda, because that's usually, I'll have 2 or 3 drinks.
You could do the Kimmy Watch thing and you drink Jack, whiskey, and Diet Coke. I know.
But see that? Yeah, it's the same thing. If I'm gonna drink Coke, I'm just gonna drink regular Coke. I'm not. I feel the same thing about Diet Coke. Like whatever they put in.
I can imagine putting Diet Coke in Jack Daniels, and mixing those 2 things together.
You remember my my ex-girlfriend Denise from years
ago. I hated Tanqueray, but Dr. Pepper and Tanqueray, I was like, Denise, come on.
You remember that? That's what I was going to point out. She drank Dr. Pepper and she didn't even drink that much, but when she did, she drank Dr. Pepper and Tanqueray. That is so disgusting to me.
No, Tanqueray is the most, I want to say the most, but top 2 or 3 most disgusting drinks I'll ever, because I got sick off it or whatever. But Dr. Pepper.
I might be able to offer some insight on that. Go ahead, though.
Yeah. So, but I've gotten sick off Tanqueray and, just horribly sick. And so to me, I used to drink it straight all the time. Mark introduced me.
I forgot about that when we first met. Like when we were first playing together on the Blaze, Tanqueray was your thing. At 17 years old.
Yeah, at 17 years old. Yeah. On seizure medication. Not supposed to drink. But yeah, so that's what we would drink all the time. And we'd drink it straight. And then it was just so, once I got sick, it was so nasty. But when I remember coming over to a Christmas party and Denise was drinking Dr. Pepper and Tanqueray, and I'm like, man, this is the thing, man. Because I like Dr. Pepper. And so I like, that's one of my favorite sodas. So, but no, that was good. Yeah, I remember that right away, Neil Dog.
No, the thing with gin, I learned this when I took a chemical dependency class where you learn a lot about drugs and alcohol. And, Tanqueray is a gin. Gin is distilled differently than any other alcohol. They use some kind of rare, like, berries to distill gin. And like 50% of the population's allergic to those berries. And which made a lot of sense to me because I went through a short, back I was in my 20s, but I went through a short phase where I was drinking like gin and tonics or whatever.
Right.
And I would have like 2 or 3 of them and just feel like garbage the next day. And everybody's like,
Right.
"Oh, you drank," like nobody would listen to me that I didn't drink that much. You know what I mean? I had like 3 drinks and I feel like I drank an entire bottle. And I
Right.
realized later when I took that class, I think I was just having like an allergic reaction to those berries. I could be wrong,
Another
who knows? But
hey.
when
I'll believe anything
a
about gin.
light went off when I read that, though. I
Right.
clearly remember reading like 50% of the population's allergic to those berries.
Right.
So not everybody could drink gin. There's a reason for that.
And you shouldn't. That's a,
I don't even want to. I haven't had a gin and tonic since I was like 25.
yeah, right.
That sounds disgusting. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, right. And the
I'll
crazy
never.
thing is, Neil Dog, that's like 30 years ago or
I
25
know, right?
years ago.
I know, right?
It's like, it's real time. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I haven't had it in 6 months.
Yeah,
I haven't had that in over
no,
20 years.
lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, old man now said
Yeah, right. Hey,
buddy,
that was back when...
I'm getting so old now. I call myself an old man all the time to people.
No, I describe myself that way too. People are like, "Oh, you're cold." I'm like, "I'm an old man. Come on."
Yeah, no, I was tripping on that the other day because you've always been younger than me, and when we're like 25 and 20
Right.
or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, this dude's still like 20 or whatever. Like, but now you're racing toward you're gonna be 48 next week, right?
No,
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
funny you say that. I've always just assumed this whole last year that I've been 48. I mean, it's just been something that so,
Dude,
so I've actually been, I confuse myself actually. It's like, oh, how old am I turning? 21, and it's 2021. I go back to my birthday. It's like, oh, it's 48.
You probably don't remember this, but in my early 30s, at one point, you and Christina were over here, and one of you, like my age came up somehow. And like, I literally didn't know if I was 30, 31, or 32 or something. I mean, it was somewhere in my 30s. And I literally, like, Christina's like, well, how old are you? It's like, sat there, I'm like, 30. No, 32. Like, I lost track of how old I was. I remember you guys just laughing.
now it's a defense mechanism. I've lost track of it. Again, it's always better than the alternative, getting a birthday, but when they start to dwindle. What, Neil, are we gonna talk something new? The show's almost over.
I know. So just transitioning.
No, it's 12:07. So I don't know what time we started.
I don't either. No. That's later than I thought it was, but we ended up talking for a long time before we even started. But let's go transition into 2021.
2021.
2020 was a crazy year, not just for beat baseball, but for the whole world. But just keeping it on beat baseball.
What? Because you don't want me to talk about how crazy 2021 has already been?
No.
Okay. No. January 6th, 2021, a day that will live in infamy.
True.
I'm sorry.
But we could be here all day talking about it.
I ain't talking about it,
But turning towards beat ball in 2021. Obviously, we weren't able to host the 2020 World Series because of COVID. And I guess I'm wondering, like, as the year starts, like what your projection is for the 2021 World Series. Like, how are you feeling optimistically or whatever, like realistically? Where are you at? What do you think of it being possible?
I think it is highly possible. Obviously, right, it's going to happen because the last year's tournament went off with only one person getting COVID, and so everybody's going to push for the World Series to happen regardless. But I do think by that time we should have a better handle on it. Last year, This isn't a political statement; it's just a statement of fact. Trump really didn't give a damn, and so he didn't do anything about it. And so this year, I think with the new president, new attitude, I do think that it will start to get better. It will start to trend down, and then hopefully more people will get the vaccine and start to tamp it down. So I do think we have a lot better chance of getting control of the virus now, even though it's totally out of control at the moment. I do think we have a chance. So I think by August, it would be a lot better, a lot safer if they would push it back to the end of August. I know that's against the rules, but I do think by August, things should be pretty well under control or whatever. My oldest son plays high school football. Yeah. I'm expecting his senior season to start on time in the fall. So I'm thinking beat ball should be good. I'm thinking we're gonna be all right, Neil Dog. We're gonna survive.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I mean everything you put out there is on point.
Of course, I'm right all the time, 95% of the time.
I personally still feel like the possibility of the World Series is 50-50 at best right now. Like the doctors that I as far as COVID goes, I mostly just follow like doctors as far as like where things stand with the virus. I don't listen to like political stuff about where it stands. And one thing, like Dr. Agus, somebody I've been following from the beginning, it keeps saying now that there's vaccines is we're able to play offense now. Like the country's been playing, the world's been playing defense with this COVID-19 thing. And, for reasons you pointed out, I think, but also because we didn't have a vaccine for it. You're just playing defense. But now they've got some vaccines going, and we could start playing offense. So it is. I do expect the virus to get under control through 2021, but because it's taken so long to get to this point, I don't know if like we'll be far enough along when the NBBA has to make a decision. Obviously, the teams are going to have opinions and want to play and whatever, but the NBBA's got the board has to make a decision on whether they can host a tournament or not, and they've got to do it before August. They can't, you know what I mean? Like even
but they'll push it like they did last year. They can push it to June, and then you know what I mean. So
that's true.
You don't have to wait till August to make the decision. Yeah. You'll have a better idea in June. You know what I'm saying? And I do think the pressure of what happened last year, I don't even know what tournament it was, or the one in Indy. What was that called?
The bigger one, the Indy Invitational, Thunder Invitational.
The Thunder Invitational, right. I do think since, that in everybody's opinion was successful, I think again that's going to put so much pressure on the board to go forward with the World Series. Right. I'm not necessarily saying it's the right decision, but I do think as you start to see more control of the virus get come online, and again, and it's and it's an attitude thing. We don't have to be where we're at now, even without a vaccine, right? If everybody just wore masks and took the thing seriously, we wouldn't be where we're at now, right? Yeah. So, but I do think as people see it start to get more, under control or to fall, the pressure on the board will be so great that they'll go through with it. And looking at Wichita. I went and looked earlier today to see what they're at. They seem to be, in the throes of a surge at the moment.
Yeah. And I was looking at it too.
Yeah, but they still have in-person dining. The maximum. I think I saw like 100 people, or at least 50%. They have fitness and all that stuff going. So again, it's Kansas. we're in California, the northern part of California, so we look at things just a little bit
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
And so I think Kansas is going to be open to it. Though again, I don't know, how the city will react bringing in 500 blind people or
yeah.
however
And see
many
that
it is.
when I was looking at the and look, I know this is January that we're talking about
Right,
this. But like when I was looking at Wichita, like they still like what I found today, they're still not allowing like gatherings of bigger than like 25. And
25. Right,
yeah, and they
right,
still are, as they should be, pushing the mask and 6 feet separation. It's like none of, like we're so far away. And again, it's January, but we're a long ways away from 500 people being able to gather at one
right.
place. So that,
Here's my thought, and this is what I didn't know back in April. Um, 'Cause everything was new or May and stuff like that. And like I said, I was looking at the George Floyd protests pretty hard to see, um, transmission. What I do believe is being outside playing. I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think anybody's going to transfer the coronavirus outside playing. Playing the actual game of beat ball.
right.
Um,
No,
the threat.
it's the like being together at
Right.
hotel
Right.
and the
That's the
car
problem.
back in, like
Right.
a 15 passenger
Right.
van. Like
Right.
it's, there, yeah, no,
You're right.
and it does seem like the more open the area is, you know what I mean? The
Right.
being out in the open is better for that. So,
Right. And so you can't. I do think you could actually play beat ball, but again, I do think that the largest hurdle is the hotel, the living around
yeah, yeah.
the beat ball
Right.
games and stuff. But again, I do think the pressure is just going to be so great
Yeah.
that
No,
they're going
there
to
will be
have
a
to
lot of
move
pressure.
towards it.
There
Oh
will be
yeah.
a lot.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
even though I've spent many years on the MBBA board of directors, and I plan to be an MBBA board member again in my future, but I'm happy not to be an MBBA board
All
member
right.
right now. I mean, I would take the responsibility if I had it. I wouldn't duck it, but. I remember I had Blake Boudreau, the president of the league, on this show, right after the MBBA made the decision. I told him then, and I still feel I'm glad not to have been part of that decision. That
Right.
being one of the people that had to decide to cancel the World Series, I mean, even though I believe they made the right decision.
Right. See, it wouldn't have been hard for me. Last year, it wouldn't have been hard for me. I would have canceled, not even given it a second thought.
No,
And
I and
and,
I
and I
would
think it was the
I'm
right
with
thing.
you there. I'm just saying I wouldn't have
Right.
wanted to live with that. Like I
Right.
know it's the right
Right.
decision. I wouldn't have wanted to have that. It just hurts. I guess
Yeah.
that's what it just hurts
Yeah.
to have to do that. That's my point. Um,
Right.
and and they're gonna. I think they're going to face a similar situation this year. It'll be better, but I'm
Right.
not convinced yet that it will be tremendously different. I'm
No.
hopeful. I'm not at all making any kind of political statement that they shouldn't have the World Series at this point. I have
Right.
no idea. I just I'm not optimistic yet that they can.
Right.
I hope they can, but I mean, like I'm not sure the Olympics are going to happen.
Right.
What
Right.
else was I just? There's something else major that I was hearing that could end up getting canceled that is supposed to happen this year. Doggone it. I should write stuff down. I should never listen to you and
Peace.
stuff.
Hold on. I know what it is. I know
What?
what it is.
What?
Peaceful transfer of power.
That wasn't where I was going. I don't remember what it was. There's something along with the Olympics that might not happen. I cannot pull it out. It's killing me. Oh well, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah, no, I do think it. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, right? I am a lot more optimistic that'll happen if they can figure out the challenges of the hotels and the cars and all that stuff. That again is the biggest thing. And as long as they're really creative and I think they could probably pull it off. But I do think there's going to be such a strong push to do it that they'll go forward with it, and if they have to cancel it at the end, they'll cancel it at the end.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Like I see other difficulties too, though. Like if they do host the tournament and you got 20 teams there, but we're still not totally out of COVID, getting the number of volunteers that are needed on the field for that size tournament, I think is going to be. It's always a challenge. It was a challenge before COVID, so you know, I have concerns for our World Series, like going forward, just knowing the business of hosting the World Series, having been on the tournament committee for nearly 20 years. I know the business of the tournament, and the business side of it scares me. You know, it's going to take cities a couple years to recover from COVID, and so they're not going to, in my opinion, we're not going to be getting a lot of bid hosts, like our bids to host the World Series. Like there's a lot of layers to this that concern me for the NBBA, and not just the, you know what I mean? We're just talking beat ball. You know, I mean, there's layers of COVID that concern me around the world, period. But where it affects, I have big concerns on how it's going to affect our World Series for a few years. You know, whether it's getting played or not, or, you know, even if it's getting played, just finding hosts and stuff while cities recover, I think is going to be a challenge. I've encouraged those I know on the tournament committee to try to be proactive with it and try to maybe, you know, this might be a good time to like revamp the package of our tournament and think of ways to make it easier on a city to host it. You know, try to get creative in how we present the package to make to be a better situation for a city. But
no, it's going to be tough. I mean, you know, again, good thing is there should be money flowing from the federal government now to the state and local government. So, you know, finances won't be a strap. Like I'm sure cities now are like, man, we can't do anything, man. You know, we got nothing. You know, we're barely able to open schools. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, you know, I do think a lot, and you know, I think kids will be going back to school in the fall. So, I won't be in Kansas next year, or this year. It's this year now. Like,
I know.
All right. 2021, yay! But I won't be there. But I ain't never leaving Northern California. You're gonna have to host in Sacramento again if you want to see me there, boy.
I won't go that far, but I don't know that I'd be in Kansas. We'll just have to see how the year plays out.
All right. No, but I do think it will happen. It'll be so much pressure. It'll happen. It will be scheduled. It will happen. I don't know. You know.
What it looks like though. I mean, there's no way. In my opinion, there's no way it's a 20-team tournament.
No. And I always thought this, especially last year, you could do regional games and limit the teams at the World Series. You know, like to like a 5-team, you know, the best 4 or 5 teams in the league, you know.
What are you suggesting, like for every year, you mean?
No, just like for this year. I mean,
you know, I got what you're saying. So to kind of counteract the challenges, have regional tournaments and just get the top teams together.
Yeah, exactly. Get them to qualify, you know what I mean? And then do it that way, and then have a small World Series of only like 4 or 5 teams, you know, and it won't be the best, you know, it's not the greatest solution, but you know, it's a safe solution.
Well, look, like on paper, it's a good idea and a good solution. That would require so much organization that the league never does. Like, you know what I mean? The league would have a hard time organizing a bunch of little regional tournaments.
The league doesn't necessarily have to organize them; they would just have to sanction them, right? I mean, that's really where they would have to. I think
they do anyways. I think, you know, I think the Indy tournament and the Chicago tournament are sanctioned by the NBBA. I could be wrong about that. I've always found that kind of silly because I don't know. It's just in this case, it's just a word. The NBBA sanctions those tournaments, but they don't run them. They don't oversee them. They don't control them. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I've never really understood where we were going with that, and I'm not even positive they do sanction them. I know from when I've been on the board of directors, it's been a conversation, and I know people were in favor of it.
I've always, in my plan, I've always thought of the biggest logistical hurdle are the teams, the new teams out here in California and Vegas and stuff like that, because they're not very good. And so you would have a regional tournament out here on the West Coast that wouldn't have very good teams in it. Not saying that they're not going to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, for the audience, you're not just calling them bad. They're new.
No,
so they're not new, up and running.
Exactly.
But
they're
beyond
not together, and they don't have, right.
Beyond that, there's such a tremendous imbalance of teams being spread out.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if the Seattle team still exists, Seattle, Washington, but like the Spokane team never really got off the ground. And we're more spread out here on the West Coast. You know what I mean? It's like the California and Las Vegas playing Washington, like they're you know what I mean? It's a $500 flight for one to get to the other, or you know what I mean? It's not like being in Indy and you could make a drive, or you know what I mean?
To Chicago,
right? It's like the teams here are so spread out. Like a Western regional, like you said, it wouldn't include any of the top teams.
Right.
But it also would be impossible to come off, really. You're talking about,
it depends. Right. I mean, again, the teams like the Southern California teams are really close to Las Vegas. That's a drive.
Yeah.
You know,
those two, but that's two out of what? Right. You know what I mean? So
and so that to me, the biggest problem is the West regional or the West region overall. I think that's like you could do Texas, you know what I'm saying? You could do
East
Chicago,
Coast.
Right? You could do the Midwest, you know what I'm saying? So you could do it. It's just the coming west of the Rockies. It's a lot of space and very few teams, and not really any powerhouse teams. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not criticizing anybody.
No. That's why I want to just point out is because they're just so new. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Oh well. Well, we will see how it all plays out. It'll be an interesting year. But the cool thing is, we're gonna be here doing shows every week, so we'll be talking about it. We'll be bringing in the people that are involved, and we'll let it all play out together.
I'll knock on wood for you.
You know what's funny? That didn't sound. It sounded like you clapping. I didn't think you were knocking on wood. I'm like, that's like, oh, that's a great finish. Yay. It did not sound like you knocking on wood.
Well, me saying it was a great finish, yay, would not sound like me, right?
Yeah, right.
Knocking on wood. that sounds like me. Yes, we do hope we are here for. Let's just be here next week.
We are here. We are proud. Let's be loud. No.
I was going to start some chants I'd heard over the last week or so, but they probably would not be appropriate.
No, you're not. You've gone too far already. All right, let's get out of here.
All right, bye, Meatball World.
Just a little recap and restart. Get the show going for 2021. We'll be back next week. Hopefully doing what we planned, but if not, we'll do something else. We'll have something for you.
We'll have something. Ain't no problem with that.
All right. Happy New Year.
Hold on. Before we say goodbye to Aunt Cindy, I would say, as I texted her before, congratulations to those Cleveland Browns. Hopefully they win tonight. Hopefully they win tonight. Yep.
Seth's Aunt Cindy's part of Seth's mom's family, the side of the family, and they're all from Ohio. And I'd forgotten that, they've all been big Brown fans all these years, suffering.
Well, not all those years. Once they stole them, right? My family was crushed. The Ohio family was crushed when the when the Browns left.
became the Ravens.
Yeah, then it took them a while to warm back up. But
I can understand that. That's I'm actually wearing a Sacramento Kings shirt today, and my Kings almost became the Anaheim Royals a few years, 10 years ago, and I would not have followed them. And I've been a loyal Kings fan since they came to Sacramento 36 years ago, and I would not be an Anaheim Royals fan, and if another team came along later that they renamed the Sacramento Kings, I would be into it, but it wouldn't be the same. So I can feel that.
It would take a little while to warm up, and so that's been that change took place a while ago, and so they've warmed up and stuff, and so to see and Cleveland's always been a place where sports franchises don't do well, right? And so to see Cleveland doing well over the last few years and stuff like that, it's always good. So glad to see the Browns there. Not a Baker Mayfield fan, but such as the word. Or an Odell Beckham Jr. fan.
No, I can't stand Odell Beckham Jr. That guy's a punk. He's a punk.
So I'm congratulating the Cleveland Browns only because of my family. Otherwise, don't give a damn about you. But we're
all right. All right. Enjoy the game, Aunt Cindy, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Bye-bye.
You even got your bye-bye in there.
Good.
Yeah. Woo! You're not going to believe this, but I got a pee.
What? You stopped my hang Mike Pence chant.
I thought Mike Pence was coming over to our side.
He is, but it was the Trump people outside of the Capitol.
Oh yeah.
I
don't know if you're gonna hang for them, but you can hang, but I really do gotta pee.
No, it's good. We'll talk now.
All right, man.
As he runs off to the little potty's room.
What?
You need a bigger balloon. What's the score of the game, Trader? Yeah.
Voiceover on Zoom.us. Zoom meeting. Enter full screen button. Image. Stop video closed. Open chat panel. Share record reactions. Leave button. Leave button. Reactions button. Record button. Share screen button. Open chat panel button. Closed. Open participants panel. 2 participant video submenu. Close. Open shared record button. Reactions button. Leave button. Leave button. Leave meeting. Command W. System dialog. Cancel button. Cancel button. Leave meeting. Default button. Cancel button. Leave meeting. Ed Clark has left the meeting. All queue. Ed meeting.